Hey, and welcome to Vibrant You. This week's episode is a bit of a part 2 from last week's episode, which was on moving from burnt out to balanced, holistic strategies to preventing burnout as a female professional or entrepreneur. And if you haven't checked out last week's episode, go have a listen as it's so good. And today we're building on that conversation and diving even deeper. Today I'm talking all things health optimization, conscious business strategies, and keeping your cup full as a female entrepreneur with Stacey Nelson. Stacey is a dear friend of mine, and she's a conscious business mentor, yoga and meditation teacher, and embodiment guide. Stacey was led to holistic health and yoga from a very young age since experiencing a whole variety of health challenges in her youth. It was through finding ancient healing modalities, holistic health and yoga that she was able to truly transform her health and her life. And this has catalyzed a whole journey for her and in becoming a passionate international yoga teacher, space holder, facilitator, and mentor. She has been an entrepreneur for over 11 years now, and she balances multiple businesses while continuing to feel inspired to serve and support others on their journey to connecting to their true nature, cultivating their healthiest and fullest life, and thriving as ethical and conscious business owners. So we go so deep in this episode, we talk about what the true central pillar of a thriving business really is, and it's probably not what you think. We explore a whole variety of self-care practices and wellness tools to support you in growing your business and staying well along the journey. We talk about business structures and tips on how to set up your business in a way that really supports your wellness versus depletes it, how to make your business work for you versus you work for your business. We explore business strategies for better workflow, more ease, more freedom, and abundance in your business. And one of my favorite parts is Stacey and I get into exploring some ancient and modern biohacking tools for optimal health and peak performance. Stacey also shares her number one health tool that she swears by for better health and showing up in her work at her best. So I'm so excited for you to tune in, and Stacey and I would love to hear. Send us a DM on Instagram. Our handles are in the show notes, and we would love to hear what your top key takeaways are from this episode. We would love to hear any questions you might have and keep this conversation going over on Instagram. So let's get into it. Okay, today we have a very special guest joining us. We have my dear friend, Stacey Nelson, and Stacey is a conscious business mentor. She's an amazing yoga and meditation teacher and embodiment guide. And I have had the pleasure of knowing Stacey for several years now. We actually taught together here in Bali, Indonesia. We used to teach amazing wellness and yoga centered retreats. And yeah, I've just had the great pleasure of knowing you, of course, as a co-facilitator, but also as a friend for a few years now. So I am so excited to have you join today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a gift to be on your podcast and to share with your community, and yeah, excited for all the conversations that will flow from this time together.
Well, I know a bit of your story, Stacey, but I would love for you to share with our community a bit of what got you to where you are today doing the work that you now do. What's your story?
Oh my goodness. This ravels back quite a bit of time. So from a young age, I've always had a very just service-driven, heart-led spirit. And in a lot of ways was the person who would always be the helping hand, the person to say, I'll help, who needs me? Always very much in the space and desire of wanting to help others. And as I grew older, through my youth and my childhood, I actually had a lot of different health challenges, and it affected me in massive ways. I mean, I have a twin brother, 2 older siblings, and the life that I was living as a kid was very much different from the life they were living. And I didn't actually realize how much pain and how much struggle I was going through till I started to unpack it years later. And at that time, I was really just on this trajectory of no silver lining or no light at the end of the tunnel. I actually started getting more and more sick with different types of side effects and medications. And so all of this vibrancy in this life and this outgoing, playful, energized spirit that I had was constantly being dimmed and held back by heart condition, vocal seizures, permanent nerve damage from what was told would last forever. And so I was basically treated like a guinea pig at the time. I had a rare heart condition and no signs of getting better. And actually through with the medications that I was put on, developed different side effects. And so I was getting worse instead of getting better. And I hit a breaking point around age 15 where I was just like, I'm done. I'm done being in all these different testing situations, just going in and not getting answers, or almost like this guessing game of what was going on or what was going to happen, or almost like lost sense of hope. And so I remember just after being in a very angry and resentful and disappointed state, turning to faith and turning to prayer and just getting on my knees, sobbing. And I have this very visceral experience of coming right back to that point of remembering that was like a pivotal moment in time, that about a week later, I had a dear friend of my mom's reach out to her and share that she has a woman who is incredibly gifted and works with different ancient healing modalities, energy healing, different herbal medicine and essential oils, and different forms of holistic healthcare. And of course, at that time with my mom, we decided to give it a shot. And before I knew it, and of course it took time, everything that doctors said I'd have for the rest of my life, I no longer have. And I completely saw my life change for the better. And in that time, I was very much struggling with mental health and just very much didn't like school, had this rebellious nature. And so I was introduced to yoga, and I went to my first class by a recommendation and an invitation from a friend whose mom opened a studio in our local town. Ended up going to a class and walking out of there in complete amazement and shock, and knowing that what I had just done in that time wasn't just simply moving my body. Something shifted emotionally, mentally, and spiritually for me in that time. And so I was enraptured and totally just devoted, just instantaneously, to studying and practicing, giving no time and attention to school, and didn't even have my license at the time, and was just completely dedicating every spare moment to reading different texts and going to different classes and getting dropped off to different studios just to learn more and experience more of what I had tasted at that moment. And so having holistic health and yoga come into my life, what felt like, just such divine grace and saving grace, really ignited this spark of passion inside of me of wanting to share this with others, of wanting to be a bridge and an advocate to share my story and to share that these tools are available to us. These are powerful, effective tools that we can utilize and lean on as preventative care, as supportive health care, and of course, to optimize our health and well-being as well. So all of that was happening. This little helpful spirit of a bubbly little girl was also starting to come back to life. And I had this always push the status quo. And I always had this little rebellious nature that wanted to do things differently. And so when it came to schooling, I totally wasn't vibing with it and wanted to actually not even go to college and just devote everything to yoga at that time. And so my parents dragged me out of bed to go to a tour in Kenosha, Wisconsin at Carthage College, and had my twin brother had an interview with the volleyball coach there. And we were walking on campus, and I asked the tour guide and said, "Is there yoga here? Is there yoga classes, program, or club?" And she said, "No, but you can start it." And so that like initiative energy and passionate energy immediately was just like, yes. And so decided to go and started the yoga club and program. And in that time, I really got to taste what it was to have that an entrepreneurial spirit. And at the time, I wasn't calling that anything related to business. I was very much, this is service. This is fun. This is just a way for me to share yoga and serve. And that is the essence of what my heart was always leading me to do. But I very much was equipping myself with the tools. I actually decided to study business and sports and exercise science per my father's recommendations to help complement what I was doing with yoga. And, I'm happy that I had gone through with those studies, and very much actually ended up teaching much more than I was even studying at that time because of how much yoga was being invited from others and just so much great response from it. And it really opened up my eyes to seeing and witnessing the transformation that others were having. And so it really led me down this path of wanting to show up and hold space and be in the space of offering others an opportunity to connect deeper to themselves, and really wanting to devote myself to that. So, I, from that point, had many different entrepreneurial endeavors, co-owning and starting up a studio up in Mequon, Wisconsin, having my own yoga school, managing studios, running different businesses, working with affiliate programs for different product-based companies. And so slowly opening up myself to different forms of income and different forms of service, and slowly recognizing that I was actually building multiple businesses in that time as well. And so my heart and my soul and my spirit always came from this service-driven and heart-led space. And little did I know it was starting to reap and sow the benefits of financial nourishment, and allowing me to then share and offer support and guidance and tools and methodologies to mentor and support other entrepreneurs and other service-based business owners, especially who are looking to lead and live a life from the heart and a business from the heart, where they feel like they can really be in reciprocity and in a way in which they can show up in business that feels ethical and integrous. That's kind of like my niche that has really just opened up for me as a business mentor as well. So it's been incredibly full circle. It's been 11 years now since starting my businesses, and it's been a ride, and I couldn't be more grateful to now weave in all of these different passions that I have into different facets of my business and help others to do the same.
Wow, honey, that is such a powerful story. And as you're sharing, I many of these pieces I didn't know about you. And I'm realizing more and more just like, yeah, how much of like the essence of our soul feels the same to me. Like our journey feels so similar. And as you're sharing, I see so much of me in your story of being really sick as a kid and overcoming those chronic illness, seizures. We both had different types of seizures, and just how that really led to such a journey of learning and growth and deep desire to share, what we've learned along the path with others to inspire them in their journey, and how, of course, it's brought us both to entrepreneurship and to business and sharing this work with the world. So I love to hear your story. So on that theme of owning businesses, we have a lot of listeners that are either working professionals or business owners or self-employed or entrepreneurs themselves. And before we get into like some strategies that can really support them, I'd love to just hear why it matters. This is something that I really overlooked in my journey of how important my health, my well-being, my nervous system regulation, my cup being full really mattered in terms of my business success. So wondering if you can just speak to why it's so important and what we gain as business owners when our cup is full and we do have so much more to give.
I absolutely love this question. And I think it's so important for everyone to hopefully take some value from this as well. As, we cannot serve from a cup that is half empty or that is not in overflow. Of course, the quality of our work can be shared and expressed from a place where we feel full. And I like to say, let's work from a place of overflow. Let's work from a place that feels really solid, really good, because in that way, we'll be able to show up even stronger for our clients, for our mentees, for those who we are working with or showing up for. The sharpness, the precision of our thought, the way in which we can help to strategize and ideate with the people that we're working with gets to become so much clearer when we're not in the state of depletion, right? And so when we can fill our cup and we can feel really nourished and resourced, we're able to give so much more. I feel like I have so much more to give and offer in terms of my energy. I feel so much more present when I have this sense of fullness within my own self. And I think we really get caught up, and I know from personal experience, myself included, this desire to serve comes from such a selfless place that we can unintentionally start to really diminish the self-care practices that we hold and are necessary for us on our journey. And so taking time to really give yourself those solid boundaries and carving out the time to dedicate and devote to your practices. And those practices are going to look different for everyone. So if you are listening to this podcast and thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I feel like I might be a little bit depleted right now, or I don't feel an overflow, or I don't feel like I'm giving it my all to who I'm showing up for, sit with what you know can really bring you back back into a state of balance within yourself? What regulates your nervous system? What allows you to feel present and grounded in your body? What facilitates more clarity of the mind for you? What allows you to feel whole? And, Bindi and I will definitely share some tips on this podcast, which I'm excited about, but definitely, start to really sharpen the discernment. And it starts with first setting those boundaries and saying to yourself, I'm choosing myself, allowing to give myself permission to note my worthiness, note that I am needed in a way that allows me to be fully expressed and fully whole, right? And then in that regard, really allowing yourself to be in that space and see then how you can start to optimize that time, and there's little tips and tools that we can share with you as well. And okay, maybe one day you're in a funk and you're like, it's taking me a little bit longer to get out of this funk. And maybe other days you're feeling a little unmotivated, uninspired. Work with your energy. Notice if you're feeling more in depletion, how you can start to rev up some energy, moving the body, shaking, tapping, getting some lymphatic drainage moving by even jumping. If you have those little trampolines, I just got one, I'm obsessed. Helps to move and shake up some energy. If you're feeling anxious, scattered, bring the energy down into your body, ground your feet on the earth, really allow yourself to reset and restabilize. So not only is it important to take these pockets of time and time off for ourselves, but also notice the momentary situations that we can really start to incorporate into our life as well. Okay, in between calls, how can I just do a little shake and a refresh? Just give myself that permission to clear the energy, reset, reground. So there's lots of simple ways in which we can really support ourselves, but ultimately knowing that if you really want to show up and serve others, it starts with ourselves, and it starts with coming back to our wholeness and our sense of home and belonging and in contact with our true nature that allows the fullest expression of our work to be shared. And that's the gift. That's the value. That's where the value is really felt from others is, wow, okay, this electricity, this feeling of so much like full capacity that can then be shared and expressed from that place.
I love that. And so relatable. I know for me back in 2020, when I was really unwell at the start of the pandemic with mold illness and mold toxicity and adrenal fatigue, and like entered into proper state of burnout, just with so much change and transition in my life at that time, that I had nothing to give. And it took months. Like I really needed to dial back in my business. Like the impact I was able to make, the income I was able to make was so dialed back in that state of unwellness. This is my personal like business mission, and what I share with my clients as well is like our wellness, right? Our state of well-being, our energy is the greatest asset that we have in our business. Without it, we have nothing to give. We have no creative energy to create content. We have no motivation and zest, to jump on discovery calls and meet new clients and to actually serve the clients we're meant to work with, right? So it makes such a huge difference. I always say, self-care is not selfish. It's the greatest gift that we can give the people around us and our clients and our team, is our own self-care. So I love to hear that. Let's get into some of those practices. I know it's so different person to person, but maybe you can just share a bit of what your top self-care practices or wellness tools are to really stay balanced and keep your cup full.
Absolutely. And yeah, as to your point, it's different from person to person. So just speaking very personally as to what has been really helpful for me along the way is having some solid non-negotiables. And for that, for me, is taking daily walks and movement. And I do work within my cycle. So, depending on where I'm at in my moon cycle, I do adjust my form of exercise and movement, but walking outside in nature is something that I absolutely prioritize every single day, and some form of movement every single day. I also prioritize meditation daily. And of course, for some, this may feel more challenging. And as Bindi knows, the more that you feel like you have no time, that's actually the more it's recommended to meditate. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you have no time, I invite you to create time. How can you perhaps wake up a little bit earlier, or just carve some time in your day and really hold yourself accountable to that time frame in which you desire to really just sit with yourself and be and allow yourself to arrive into a more spacious place within your mind and within your body. For me, I notice the days that I don't meditate, or even the days that I have shorter meditations, it's like I've noticed the little changes that does for me. And so having that as a non-negotiable to meditate every single day, no matter what, is vital and important for me. Drinking lots of water, mineralizing, eating healthy, nourishing foods just to keep my hormones regulated, my energy levels in check, where I'm not eating really dense, heavy meals throughout the day that bring my energy levels down, but keeping things light and fresh, and also grounding, especially with the seasons. I'm here in North America, so definitely honoring the seasons as we approach fall, winter, getting more vata accumulation of air and space qualities, needing some more of that grounding food as well. So working with cycles of nature, working cycles of the current seasons, and of course, working with my moon cycle has been very, very helpful. I also love to work with my frequency therapy device, Healy, which I can also talk more about at some point. It's been vital for me. It's a form of biohacking. And I know you had a podcast episode of biohacking, so this is a great add-on. For those of you who are interested in that episode, go check it out. It's amazing. And it's definitely so important for us, especially as business owners, professionals, and entrepreneurs, where we might not have all the time to do all the things, right? Especially if we have kids, family, different roles and responsibilities, some who might have 2 jobs and might be really stretched on time, right? We want to be adaptable and flexible and meet ourselves where we're at without putting too much pressure on ourselves. And a way in which we can do that is we can really optimize our health through different biohacking tools and practices. So the Healy frequency device is a portable wearable device that I like to have on while I'm working, while I'm on my daily walk, so that I'm regulating and bringing balance and coherence to different aspects of my body, my mind, or my energy levels to support me in really showing up in a full cup and in a way that I feel allows me to really be from that space of overflow. Today, I felt really sluggish, and I'm approaching my moon cycle and decided to run a fine flow program. And sure enough, it just gave me that energetic movement and that flow of prana that allowed me to really reset myself for my final calls of the day. That's a gift, to not feel like I have to take a nap or do all these long time commitment practices, and instead be able to really just lean on something that's biohacking has been really great. So yeah, it comes back down to this simple basics for me: sleep, morning and evening routine. I am a huge advocate for moving the lymphatic system, especially in the morning. I work with a gua sha, I work with an ice roller, I go on my jumping trampoline, I do a lot of shaking, tapping, but that is such a great way not only to get our bodies and our brains activated for the morning, but to also really reset the energy. When we're holding space for others, when we're working with others, business relationship, space holding, whatever it is, it gives us this opportunity to be in that clearer state. And that clearer state allows us to really be in tune and present with who we're working with, rather having almost this chaotic mind or energetic that's taking a hold of us. So some of my favorite practices and some of the non-negotiables that I have for myself.
Ooh, those are so, so good. I love a lot of those. Those are a lot of the ones that I do as well. And I love that you kind of shared the original biohacks, right? Before all the modern day tech, biohacking was, from ancient Ayurveda that you and I are so in love with as a form of medicine. For listeners that have never heard of Ayurveda, Ayurveda is the oldest medical science known to humankind. It's more than 5,000 years old, comes from ancient India, and really gives us so many tools for rejuvenation and really listening to the signs and the seasons of nature to optimize our human health. So as you mentioned, getting out in nature, those daily morning walks of getting sunlight on your skin, that really resets the circadian rhythm, and, having contact with the earth, with nature every day to help ground our energy, meditating, working with your natural cycle as a woman, your menstrual cycle, and working with the seasons of nature and adapting what you eat throughout the seasons to really nourish your body. So many beautiful and powerful tools that we can work with, these more ancient modalities as well. As I'd love to hear you share more actually about this more modern day biohacking of the Healy device. I'm actually not so familiar with it. I've heard about it through you a little bit, and I know I have a couple other friends. So yeah, would love to hear a little bit more about that and how that's been optimizing your work in your business or how you apply it in your work and business?
I absolutely love that. Thanks for asking. It is a portable wearable frequency device. So it has two main features. One that has a bioresonance scanning feature. So it gives the opportunity for you to have a biofeedback loop and analysis of what's out of balance, everything from organs to meridian points to systems of the body, sleep, mental health, skin, energy levels. It is very comprehensive, even doshas and chakras. So speaking in Ayurvedic terms, you can even see which chakras are out of balance in recommended programs. So the analysis feature also has a component in which you can input an intention, which is amazing. So intention, affirmations, and kalpa, and it will actually illuminate what is out of balance or what is in disconnect between you and that intention, which can oftentimes feel quite confronting because it reveals some of the shadows or the stuff that might be subconscious or unconscious. And though it's an incredible gift because it allows us to really see the clearer or fuller picture of what might be happening beneath the surface, especially if we're experiencing some different physical imbalances, diseases, or concerns, because it gives us that insight into, okay, what's happening on the mental and emotional levels or the energetic aspects of ourself that give us a greater look into the root cause of these different areas of imbalance. And it has a chakra analysis as well. So that is the analysis side of it, which is great to have on hand. And then it's the actual deliverance of frequencies through two different types of frequencies, one being scalar waves, which is more gentler and definitely receive more of a subtle shift from that, which is beautiful because it's safe. It's something that you can utilize without any attachment to any wires or anything. It just simply is coming through the device itself. And then you also have the microcurrent frequencies, which is basically like the bread and butter of Healy, is working with microcurrent frequencies, which has actually been around since the early 1900s. And so frequency specific medicine, frequency therapy in different forms has been around for as long as and has been integrated back in the day in universities and hospitals alongside with homeopathy and herbal medicine. So with the Flexner Report and the 1920s rolling around where that all got the boot, frequency therapy was one of those things. and behind the scenes and very much undercover for a long while, frequency therapy was continued to be studied and looked at specifically with microcurrent usage and the efficacy that it has on the body. Because as we know, we are energetic beings. Everything in its smallest form of matter is vibrating. So we, in fact, of course, respond to frequency. Being encompassed in our own bodies with mostly water and space, we, of course, have that as a conduit to allow the frequencies to really support our body's natural healing ability. So we have these little wristbands that attach to the device. You can clip it onto your shirt or your belt, and you receive those microcurrent frequencies in an individualized way. So that's what sets Healy apart from any other frequency tool or modality, is the individualized piece. So there is what's called a quantum sensor in the device that allows for a biofeedback loop every 10 seconds. So it actually rescans your bioenergetic field every 10 seconds and then shifts the hertz and the frequencies to be exactly what you need in that moment. So for example, if liver program came up for you and I, or hormone program came up for you and I, the frequencies within that program would be utilized, but the specific frequencies within that program would actually fluctuate and change based on individualized care, which is beautiful because we're, again, looking at the root cause, looking at the individual person versus thinking that every body responds and functions in the same way. I am trying to be compliant with my words here, but we know we're supporting our body's natural healing systems. And sometimes that looks and we respond differently to that. So having a tool that gives us this opportunity to directly influence our bodies, our minds, our energy fields with technology that is used for the betterment of the whole is such a special gift, especially with that individualized root cause care as well. So it's definitely been an incredible tool for me to weave in my business as well, because I noticed just, for example, I had a call earlier today and I ran coherence, which helps to connect the mind and the heart, as I was feeling a little scattered, not quite present, and just one of those days where you're kind of all over the place. It's Monday, and it was just, okay, let me run coherence. And that immediately felt better. I also had some digestive stuff going on. And instead of feeling like I have to take all this time to attend to this and take XYZ. I run a digestive program, and, an hour later, I'm like, wow, I feel great. And what's great is that Healy also has affiliate networking as a business opportunity. So it's actually been a form of additional income for me through sharing my own personal story with the device as well, which is a very transformative story I had with actually using it for a skin concern that came out of nowhere, August 2020, and lasted through February 2023. And I was basically at this roadblock and dead end. I had tried all the thing. I'd gotten many opinions and from different professionals and naturopathic doctor, all these different people, and everyone was pretty much at a dead end. And so I had two women in my life, both whom I very much admire and respect and hold a lot of value and trust in terms of their opinions on different things. And one speaking about her experience with using the device for her Lyme disease. And I was like, that's incredible. One speaking to her experience with fertility and hormones and nervous system regulation, and reached out. I said, is there a warranty? I have this skin reaction that won't go away all over my face and my neck. It's not acne. It was just like red, bumpy, and flaky. Closest thing I could say that it was similar to is eczema, but it wasn't itchy and it wasn't anywhere else on my body. It was just here. So I asked her what the warranty is. She said, get it, try it, it's going to work. I said, that's pretty bold. Got it. And within 5 days, it was gone. And so I immediately, again, just how you and I share the similarity and the parallel of our story from our youth of igniting such an opportunity for learning and then inspiring us to go study and educate into these different pockets of different sciences and health and wellness, open up so much doorway and opportunity to then share that and be a bridge for someone else to learn and receive from and feel very safely and held and guided into working with something that is definitely, comprehensive and multifaceted. It's simple in the way that it works in terms of like the ease of functionality, but it definitely requires us to have a moment to get to know the device. And in that regard, I'm very blessed that I feel inspired to share with others this beautiful tool and receive from the company generous compensation. And so, for anyone who's listening and who has products that they love and things that they're excited about talking about, find out if they have an affiliate program. Find out if they have some form of way to give you back in compensation for being the bridge, for being someone who is cheering them on and has cultivated your own experience or trust with a product that you love, whether that's supplements, whether that's, your biohacking tools, whether that is, a really cool eco-conscious brand that you love, clothing brand that you might represent and love. See, there's so much opportunity for us to thread together and weave together and link arms, especially as business professionals and entrepreneurs, to know that there's so much limitless opportunities in the ways that we can thread together multiple income streams to support us in a way where we feel more financially nourished is something that we're all very worthy of doing. And I think, when we come from a place of service and desire to just serve, we can get really caught in that. Am I worthy to receive? Am I now getting too much? When is it greedy? When is it this or that? And, I like to really come back to, how are you using your money? How are you investing your money? How much are you accumulated versus giving? Are there avenues of your business that you are willingly allowing to be free of exchange? Free resources can be as simple as that. Free podcasts, simple as as this, where you're receiving value. And also knowing that you are worthy to be compensated for your work in other areas. And if you love a product and there's an opportunity for that, and there's an ethics involved in that company, make sure that that's there, of course, then go for that. Let that be a bridge for you. Let that be another avenue of income for you. And of course, get inspired by different companies that are adding value to your life.
Oh, I love that so much. Yeah. And thanks so much for sharing on the Healy. I've heard of it several times now, and you've definitely inspired me to look more deeply. So we'll link up to Healy in the show notes as well for anyone that wants to check it out and see how it might be able to support them. And of course, their health and wellness, but also their business as that frequency tool, that bioresonance. So very exciting. And let's actually bridge that into, I'd love just to go one more area with you before we start to wrap things up. And that is maybe on the business structure side of things. So of course, as business business owners, it's so natural for us to think that when we have a business that we have to work for our business, right? And that we are at service to the business. And I also love the philosophy that we also get to make our business work for us, right? That's why we became an entrepreneur. That's why we started our business, of course, to make the impact. But so many entrepreneurs also have this desire for time freedom and location freedom and to not have a cap on their income. So I'd love to just hear like some business structures that you personally have put in place so that your business supports your wellness. It doesn't deplete it. What are some business structures you'd recommend for others?
I love this. There's definitely a lot of different strategies and tips that I can share here today. And two different buckets that I want to speak to is short-term and long-term. So when you look at your short-term schedule and your time frame, really looking to your week and then day to day. And if you're a female and you're listening to this podcast, I definitely recommend working with your cycles and looking at it in a way in which you can really organize what it is that you want to do versus what it is that you need to do. And in that regard, start to build priority and start to really schedule out the things that are either money generating or that are admin work and behind the scenes stuff. So, which of course add value to your business and of course add value to the overall foundation of that you're working from. And I have worked with many people who get really caught in, okay, constantly updating the website and spending lots of time on refining their Instagram bio. And it's like, that's great. And what are you actually sharing? What are you actually allowing to be offered for you to get compensated for and to receive from? So there's, and there's a lot of different areas in which you can run with that. And so looking first at your day, what is taking care of some of the back end stuff, some of the foundational stuff, what is actively creating, what is actually being offered. And when you look to what is being offered, look to what is required based on a time per dollar model. So meaning you can have X amount of clients to make X amount of money per day or per week. Notice and check in what feels most accessible for you. What I see as a common fall with entrepreneurs, especially in the mentorship space or the service-based space, whether that is coaching programs or one-to-one, is tapping out or burning out because of the need of amount of clients or amount of programs to be running to cover their expenses or their monthly budget or their basic needs. And that can get really exhausting really fast. And so I like to recommend setting up your business in different pillars. So if you see that dollar per hour model for mentorship, online courses, for example, ones that aren't recorded, because that would be then something that can be passive, is if you have an online course and that's something that's available for people to purchase and hop into, doesn't require much time. Perhaps you have automated systems in the back end that can allow you to feel more ease and be even more hands off with it. So get clear on how much time you want to actually allocate for being in front of someone and working with someone one-on-one, how much time you're starting is needed for some of that admin work. Do you have the resources to outsource anything that might be taking up time and or areas that you might not necessarily feel as strongly suited in or not really inspired or excited by? If you don't love creating content or emails, perhaps that's something that you outsource, again, if resources are available there. Now you can also look to some of the higher ticket model offerings, such as retreats or some big programs, things like that, that might carry more of that financial resource for you and allow you to feel more financially nourished from. And again, that can be something that you look at maybe like a quarterly basis or every other month basis. Again, depending on how much time and energy you wish to put into these different things. Because if you have a big high-end offering and you have 10 people who sign up for it, well, then you might be taken care of for the next few months to be hands off from your business, which maybe that is a desire you have. If you enjoy being more in this flow and taking off sporadic days, maybe that's not as important to you. Maybe it is. That might be looking at your weekly schedule and taking off certain days and time blocking into other days. You can also look at the product-based avenue as well. So I was just speaking about, looking to affiliate network marketing, looking to ways in which you can have these different products be shared and you receive compensation for. So that's something that's passive and allows you to, leverage that income to receive more financial support from. So there's lots of different little ways in which you can string together different parts of your business. My recommendation is find your pillars and notice what offerings are encompassed within that pillar. For example, yoga, holistic health, business. Okay, within that pillar, what's in that? Is that maybe one weekly class? Is that maybe 4 weekly classes? I only have capacity for one. That's great. Maybe some one-on-one clients in there for yoga. Who knows? Holistic health. Great. I have some products involved. I have some holistic health clients involved. So different things like that. You can also create different recorded trainings or any type of workbook or resource that also can be something that allows you to be hands off and just something that is purchased behind the scenes. And then, for example, for using me as an example with the business side of things, then of course, okay, maybe it's business trainings, maybe it's, affiliate networking, maybe it is one-to-one business mentorships. All of these are encompassed within that pillar and that tier, and starting to strategize. And I like to get really nitty-gritty into the finances. I'm like, okay, what are my expenses? I know so many people who just go on this entrepreneurial ride and then just go for it, but get so disconnected and sloppy with the finances that it's like almost like that don't look, don't ask, don't tell. What is it? I don't even know what it is. don't ask, don't see, whatever it is, that little saying. But it's like one of those things where I like to say, look at what it is. What are your financial goals? What are the things that you need to pay for? What are the things that what's the amount of money that you want to have as into your savings? What's the amount of money that you want to be able to have as your spending money for the month, where you can really start to set actual tangible goals. And, for me, one thing that I've really learned over the years that has been so incredibly valuable is having this balance between the masculine and feminine energetics, or the lunar and solar energetics. I think in today's world, and this is a generalization, but I do see a lot, especially on the online space, a lot of this emphasis on manifestation and dreaming and visioning. And that is great to get clear as to where you're going and the why. And without tangible action steps, how are we ever going to get there? So I'm someone who really likes to emphasize, and if you're listening to this is a great reminder to organize and build some structure and foundation into your schedule, creating some lists. What are some priorities? What is it that you actually want to do? I work with a quadrant system as well, where we look at the 30, 60, 90 days and have a forecast as to what it is that we're creating and the implemented action steps within those 30, 60, 90 days to help us to reach this greater vision, or move towards rather this greater vision and mission that we have, and to attain some of the tangible goals that we have in place as well. So getting structured, organized, clear, building those templates, seeing what systems you can set in place. And those systems can look like, automating emails, automating call calendars, things like that can help to give you more time freedom in your business. So if you're not already implementing some of these things, these are some great strategies, simple strategies that can help to just build a little bit more structure and foundation to your business, while you can also get into that creative space of, how can I work with what I really feel passionate and inspired by? What can I create? What can I allow to be offered into the world that can really make a difference for others, that can really add value to others' life and create positive impact? That's another thing that I really would love to see more of, is this emphasis of impact, because what is a business without impact, right? It's when we take away the I and we consider the we, our work carries more weight, our work carries more value. We will see and witness it grow and evolve and thrive even more, because there is this intention that is so rooted in the heart of wanting to create a positive impact for the whole. So keep coming back to that. Allow yourself to steep in that purpose and that sense of meaning within the work that you're doing, and then start to get really clear in some of those tangible steps. creating day by day tasks and scheduling, time blocking can be a really helpful tip for others as well. Maybe one day is more content creation, maybe another day is strictly admin work, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are call days. So just noticing how you work and fluctuate amidst your cycles and seasons of life, that might require you to adapt and pivot. And I think just last little thing I want to share on that too is don't be afraid to adapt and pivot. And if someone tells you it has to be done XYZ, I inspire and encourage you to think outside the box, because again, as we spoke about with our daily habits and routines, what's medicine for one might not be medicine for the other. What works for one might not work for the other. So don't be afraid to pivot your business. You're not a failure if you're starting over. You are, if things aren't working out, if you're hitting a plateau, it's okay. And I think especially being in this space for so many years, that's something I've really had to learn to embrace. Is not every day is going to feel fun and exciting, although most of them are. I love what I do. You're going to hit some lulls in your months and in your business. And it's a beautiful opportunity to adapt, to pivot, to shift and change, and to see where you can move some energy in a different way. And I think that's what allows businesses to really thrive and in a sustainable long-term way is the adaptability and the willingness to change and not holding on so tightly to what it needs to look like. I never expected myself to be where I am now. And I think that is a testament to me really allowing myself to surrender into the greater plan that God, Spirit, Source has in store for me, and letting myself remain in that space of servitude and devotion. So just coming back to that is what I really want to leave everyone here with, is come back to the heart and stay there and keep coming back there.
Oh, this is so helpful, Stacey. So thanks so much for sharing all that. It's, just so inspiring to know that there is so many things that we can put in place in our business to make our business work for us, in a way that really supports our wellness. Because truly, that is what makes the biggest difference, is when we are feeling vibrant, when our cup is full, we just have so much more to give. And the impact that we're able to have, the income we're able to generate from that place is so huge. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I would love to just wrap things up with you with a couple of quick 3 little hot tip questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us, what is the number one thing that people can do to improve their wellness today?
Go outside every day.
Ooh, I love that. What's your number one secret to living a vibrant life?
Prioritizing myself first, always, always.
Ooh, I love that. That's such an important one. Okay, and then what is the number one book you'd recommend that if the entire world read it, the world would just be a happier, healthier, overall better place?
Oh, this one I have multiple that come to mind, but one that I feel like brings us back to the simples and the basics, and this is really my yogic path coming through, is the Yamas and Niyamas by Deborah Adele. There is a beautiful simplicity and real life tangibility and relatability in that book that really brings us to these ancient texts and philosophies and ways of living, in which can feel really inspiring, and I feel could allow the world to be happier, healthier, and overall better.
Ooh, I love that. Such a good one. I'll have to check it out. Well, thank you so much, Stacey, for being here, for sharing your wisdom with us. How can our community give back to you? Where can we find you online, and how can we serve you?
Oh, so sweet. You can find me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. Stacey, Stacey __ Nelson. I do have a website. It is with my maiden name, Adam Check. You can find it on my Instagram. That's pretty much my point of reference and contact right now. But I will have Bindi share my website with you all. And yeah, I'm excited. I have lots of upcoming trainings and retreats and some one-to-one spaces opening up in January. And of course, always here to chat products that I love and Healy and all the things. So yeah, lots of different ways to support. Thank you.
Amazing. And yes, we'll link all of that up in the show notes so people can find you and your work and find out how to work with you. And we would love to hear your top takeaways from today. What was the main thing that you learned or realized? What are going to be your non negotiables to self care in your business? How are you going to adapt your business in a way that works for you versus depletes your wellness? We would love to hear. So please send us a DM on Instagram. We'd love to hear your takeaways. And I'll see you back for another episode real soon. Take care. Okay, that was amazing. I got so much out of this conversation, and I hope you did too. I'd love to hear your takeaways over on Instagram. Send me a DM, send Stacey a DM, and we'd love to keep this conversation going with you. And if you yourself are a female entrepreneur looking to optimize your health and rise into the next evolution of you and your business, I want to share with you about my new Optimize and Rise program. So this is a luxury wellness portal for the empowered entrepreneurial woman to optimize your health and really rise into that next evolution of you and your business. So it is a 4-month private luxury wellness portal for women ready to say goodbye to digestive discomforts and hormonal issues, brain fog that's holding you back from really creating that business, that abundance, and that impact that you truly desire. In the next 4 months, you'll create vibrant health so you can unlock the deepest levels of energy and inspiration and productivity in your business so that you can truly make the impact and the income that you know that you're destined to. So business is already flowing great for you, but you just have this intuitive hunch just how much better business can be flowing and, more importantly, feeling when you're feeling nourished, when you're feeling balanced, vibrant in your body and mind, and when your cup is full. So of course, you know deep down that for you to show up as your best, attract those high caliber clients, make the money and the impact that you truly desire to, you know, just as we talked about in this conversation, that having that clear and balanced physical channel, that balanced mind, that pristine energy field are not just luxuries that you can focus on later. But truly, these are the keys to building your business and creating that impact you desire. So if that is you, I would love to hear from you. Send me a DM on Instagram and would love to just have a conversation and hear where you're at and what it is that you desire for your health and your business. Or you can visit my website at bindystables.com/optimize and learn more. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and I'll see you back for another episode real soon. Take care.